Hi guys, and welcome to today's tutorial about the Logic Pro ESM monophonic synthesizer. It's a really good starting point if you're looking for bass sounds to punch through your mix. It uses subtractive synthesis, which means that it's got an oscillator that generates waveforms, and then you subtract, cut or filter out portions of the waveforms and reshape them to create new sounds. So without further ado, I'm going to create an instance of the ESM by selecting software instrument, and in the details drop down selecting my instrument ESM. I'll create a new instance of that. Then in the inspector or the channel strip, which I can access through a shorthand I, or using this I in a circle drop down, I'm going to select the ESM and give it a click in the middle. That will reveal the ESM interface, and it's organized, really well organized, and for a sort of basic overview to sound design, into 4 distinct sections. So we've got the oscillator parameters to the left hand side, the envelope and filter parameters to the top, and the output parameters to the lower right. We've also got an overdrive knob to introduce a little bit of overdrive if we should need it. To go through these in a little bit more detail, the oscillator parameters are used. We've got this knob here, which is this is the oscillator, and it's used to produce different waveforms. We've got a sawtooth wave and also a 50% rectangular wave the other side, which generates tones that are 1 octave below the sawtooth. So if you want to introduce a little bit of sub to your bass sounds, you'd want your mix to be slightly more towards the rectangular wave. You've got 3 options, or octave options, on the left hand side here: 8, 16 and 32, which are unusually for a DAW are used to stand for feet. So 8 feet, 16 feet and 32, which means that 32 feet is the deeper tone, 16 somewhere in the middle, and 8 the less deep tone. You've got a glide option here, which will give you the time that it takes to glide smoothly between one note and the other. If your glide is all the way down to the left, it is off at 0, or at 1 it will glide between the notes. To move to the filter envelopes, we've got one low pass filter here, the cutoff knob, which affects the sound, or the sound of the overall envelope, and to what degree that envelope impacts upon your sound. We'll listen to how that sounds now. So the envelope let's choose a preset, maybe a clean bass sound. The cutoff, turn the cutoff all the way down to 0 should mean that we're only letting bass frequencies through. And as we open the filter, we start to hear more of the harmonics and more of the higher frequencies of the sound of the clean bass. So we're looking for a blend there. We've got three knobs within the filter portion of the ESM. The int, so the INT knob, and this defines the amount or depth of the cutoff frequency modulation applied by the envelope generator. So for example, if we've got the cutoff all the way down to 0, but we're not listening to that, then we don't hear anything from the envelope generator. If we have the int all the way up, then we're hearing a lot of what's coming through the cutoff and the resonance. So it is the amount or depth of the cutoff frequency modulation applied by the envelope generator. We've got the decay knob, which sets the decay time of the filter envelope. If it's all the way up, we'd expect to hear the sound carrying on after you've released the key. In fact, no, that's release. We'd expect to hear the sound last for quite a long time before it loses volume. And lastly, we've got velocity, which sets the velocity sensitivity of the cutoff frequency. So next on, we'll go to the output parameters. We've got a decay knob, which sets the decay time at the dynamic stage. So the attack, release, and sustain times of the synthesizer are internally set to 0. So there's none of that, but the decay we can manipulate, and that will set the decay for the whole sound, not just the decay for the envelope. The volume is the master volume output level, and the velocity determines the velocity sensitivity at the dynamic stage. So how sensitive your keys are going to be to velocity. So that's really your basic overview to the ESM. The next we're going to do is we're going to talk a little bit about creating your own patches using it. What I'd recommend doing, although there's many different ways to do it, to go through the presets a little bit and pick out one that matches the sound that you want to design to as closely as you think. So analog bass 1 sounds a little bit like this. We could turn the octave down, go an octave lower. Analog bass 2. So I like this. Bass beep, a little bit more subby, but also perhaps a little bit too much for what I'm after. So if I'm after quite a subby bass sound, we could go through all the presets, but I'll give you the chance to do that in your own time. If we go through from analog bass 2, I want a bit of a deeper, more subby sound. So I'm going to put the mix a little bit more towards the 50% rectangular wave, and we've got a little bit more sub interest there. We could also change the 16 to 32 feet, which is there to represent the pipe lengths, by the way, of an actual organ. So 32 feet. If the pipe lengths were 32 feet, they'd be longer than, say, pipe lengths of 8 feet, and therefore introduce lower frequencies. Again, so a little bit nice and lower there. If I wanted to create something particularly subby, I might decrease the cutoff. And we'll look for a balance there. And the resonance, which is the area that an area that we can either peak or cut, I might turn down so it's got a resonant. So it's resonant at a lower frequency. So resonance at lower frequencies, resonance at higher frequencies. There, we've got a sound kind of coming. We might increase the decay on this because I want it to last for a little bit longer than it currently is. And then lastly, I might want to introduce a little bit of overdrive. It might be a good idea if you introduce any overdrive, if you've already got a level, to decrease the volume a little bit. So the output volume I'm going to decrease and the overdrive I'm going to increase. And that'll help balance out or gain stage your bass line. So once I've got a sound that I like, and I'll take this one. In fact, I might want it to decay a little bit less. Lovely. I can go back in to the synthesizer's drop down, save as, and I'm going to save this as aggressive bass. Now that aggressive bass is always in my preset menu. I can return to this, I can change it up, take a dub bass, and if I want to go back to my aggressive bass, I can change it on the drop down and find my preset again there. I can also find my preset in the library and within the ESM's sounds. So the factory sounds are all there and my individual preset is there. Thanks for watching this video tutorial. I hope that was I hope you got something from that. That was our overview of the ESM synthesizer.